All right, everyone. Welcome to Ladder House TV. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's podcast. We're so excited because we have an amazing guest and she has an amazing story. Of course, this being a domestic violence platform, we want to have real stories from real people. And that's what we're going to continue here at Ladder House Decor TV to show you that these things really do happen to real people in real life, living everyday lives. So we are so excited to have Miss Rolanda Macharia.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Her bio is amazing, so I'm just going to read off a little bit about what you can expect from her. It's just so amazing to have her on here tonight, for her to spend her evening with us. So come on in, get excited. So you have, you are originally from Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
And you were raised in L.A.
Yes.
Woo,
Los Angeles,
all right then,
California.
Crenshaw. And you're currently in the McKinney area.
I am, yes.
Good deal. So over 23 years from Bank of America.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are a published author.
I am.
And the name of your book?
He Heard My Cry.
Wow, amazing. And that was published in March of 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. And you also have written a stage play.
Yes, He Heard My Cry stage play, which is a part of the trilogy.
Awesome. And so Rolanda brings a wealth of experience, creativity, dedication to her speaking engagements, weaving together her professional expertise, creative endeavors, and her personal journey to inspire and uplift audiences worldwide. So once again, welcome and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Shalonda. It's my pleasure. I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're going to just start right off.
Okay.
What inspired you to start writing?
Well, I've always written. When I was in elementary school, I did journalism. So I loved writing in the newspaper for school and journalism for school. And my sisters and I, it was 3 girls, and we had plans on writing a book called A Tale of Three Queens that kind of talks about all 3 of our perspectives growing up together in the same house, but seeing things differently. And life was lifing, as they say. Yeah. So the last 20 years, we were planning on writing that book, but God just saw things differently. And in August of 2022, God just placed it on my heart to start to tell my story. Because so many people were hurting, especially during COVID.
Yes.
So many people had lost loved ones during COVID, and it almost seemed like a time when it seemed hopeless. And so God was telling me that this is the time to go ahead and write the story called He Heard My Cry, to bring hope to people that felt like there was none.
Wow. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And you brought up COVID, which was such I don't even know what to kind of call. What can you call that time period? You know, because it was just so many things happening at one point of time, but you just really didn't know. The world shut down. People were just uncertain about everything in life. Could you go to work? Can you go to the grocery store? So there were things that were happening in homes that were just, and people were trying to figure life out.
You're right.
Yes. And for you to be able to write and to think about writing something at that point of time, not knowing whether we could go back to work, whether we could live life normal again.
Right.
That tenacity to stay focused in that's hard.
Yeah, and I can tell it's something how do you describe this? When you get an unction and you know that the call is for you to move forward.
There you go.
And from 20 years of preparing to write and having writer's block and not moving forward.
That's it.
When it came to me, it's time.
Yes.
I literally gave myself, this was August 2022, and I gave myself until December 2022 to finish. And I literally started in August, and we was finished with the book in December.
Wow.
And God just had surrounded me with amazing people. My chief editor was Laurel Bender, and she's a technical writer anyway. So she was like, "Hey, Ro, I'll take a look at the book for you. You want me to edit it for you?" Absolutely. Like, I had no idea that's how it was going to go. All I knew was God just said, "Right." So I wrote, and He really did the rest. It was a very powerful journey, and it was a journey of healing that took place for my family as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. So for those who don't know, I have to ask this question, even though I already know this. Are you a survivor of domestic violence?
I am. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I had, first, my dad raised me, and my father, unfortunately, had grew up in a time he was born in 1949 in Macon, Georgia, in the Deep South. My grandmother is white. My grandfather is black. So my dad is biracial, in a place where he never attended an integrated school, where he was still drinking out of colored water fountains. There were 5 of the siblings there, and they all got taken from my grandmother and put in foster care in Macon, Georgia. Wow. So they're being raised in foster care, where clearly they were there for the check and not because they were loved. So they didn't get hugs. They didn't get told, "I love you," none of that. Now, fast forward, at the age of 14, they put my father in a mental institution called Milledgeville in Macon, Georgia. And they gave him 26 electric shock treatments to his brain at 14 years old. Now, when you think about the stigma on mental health now, and we're just now getting a suicide hotline, 988, but look how far we've come just to get that. Now, go back to 1949 in Georgia, where you didn't have those type of resources. So bringing him out of the mental institution and trying to get him integrated back into high school, the stigma there was, okay, he's crazy. So, I mean, there's no girlfriend want to date you, none of that. He ends up raising me and my little sister. So we're 4 and 2. Wow. And at this point, my dad is diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar. He's on medication, and he is cutting his throat with razors. He's cutting his wrists with razors, and he's very emotionally disturbed and physically abusive. And so that first violence came from my dad. Wow. And it came from my dad emotionally, verbally, and physically from the time of 4 when he started raising us until I ran away from home at 15 years old. Wow. And then I ran away from home at 15 to get away from the violence of my dad. I ended up in Hollywood, and I ended up in a relationship with an older man there who took care of me. But that came with we had our first child. I was 16 years old. Wow. So he was 9 years older than me. I had our first child at 16, and then I had our second child at 18. We got married when I was pregnant with my second child. And that violence continued from my dad to now 9 years of being jumped on by my husband. And I was young, so my voice was very quiet. I couldn't beat him. I mean, he was a Golden Glove boxing champion out of Newark, New Jersey. Wow. So I didn't have there's no way I could beat him. I was about 105 pounds soaking wet. So no matter what I did, there was nothing I could do to beat him. And I was afraid to leave because I was worried that he'd do something to myself or my kids. And so 9 years of that domestic violence. And somewhere around 18, 19, 20, I started fighting back. I mean, I knew I couldn't win. Yes. I knew I couldn't win, but I definitely started fighting back. It was evident that we were in a fight, not just that I got beat up, but we were in a fight. And so I did take as much as I could. And 9 years later, I got up the courage to finally leave my husband and divorce him. 9 years, 4 kids later. Wow. So that was the history of my domestic violence. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so you hear this real life story from Rolanda, and she says the courage. It takes a lot. Yeah. It takes daily going through the cycle, and it takes the courage for us as sisters here to say no more, that we're done. The courage is what's very important. And there may be someone out there listening right now who just needs the courage. This story right here, after she says that she's just gone through everything that she could go through, ran away at 15 to get back into another situation that was similar to that, but even more. Now she's an adult. You know, she's having to do it on her own. She's not under the roof of a parent. Now she's having to fight for her life that way. It is so important that we help our other sisters build courage. And this woman's story right here is impeccable. And I'm so glad she's here to share her story. And and there's more. So stay tuned, okay?
Thank you.
So getting off of the domestic violence part and back to your creativity, which is absolutely amazing. Can you walk us through your creative process for developing like your plays or your creative process in writing a book? That's amazing.
Yeah. So when I had no idea how I was going to write the book. I just knew that I had to pour out what was on the inside of me. And I think from the very beginning, it was just right.
Yes.
It was right. It was like throw the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
I have heard that so many times. And that's so good.
And then what you have to do is you have to decide what's the message.
Yes.
There's so many things that had happened in my life, but what is the message of this book? What is it that I want people to get? And so it became a lot easier for me once I honed in on the message. And the reason the book is called He Heard My Cry is because in February of 1999, like I said, I had left my husband and divorced him, right? And so I think I done found my new knight in shining armor. So this is my second husband that I've married. His name is Michael. And we've had our fifth child. So now I have 5 kids. I have 4 with Craig. I have my baby girl. She's 8 months old. And Michael and I get married. So we've been married for 4 months. And my husband takes the police on a high-speed chase in California for 2 hours. Wow. For 2 hours, he is on a high-speed chase, all because he is under the influence of alcohol and doesn't want to pull over. Well, that 2-hour chase turned into a 4-year prison sentence. So you're looking at me, this mom, now with 5 children, I'm divorced from Craig. I have 5 kids. My new husband is now doing 4 years in a penitentiary that's 14 hours away from my home. So this particular day in February 1999, I took my kids to daycare and I took my older kids to school and I called my job and told them I wasn't coming in. And I went home and I began to write my suicide note to take my life. So I was right there, gun, alcohol, pills, everything was right there. And I did not plan on living that day like I would have. What happened, God is just... I began to write the suicide note in the form of a psalm because I love to write and I love to write poetry. So how do I portray to the people that are going to find my letter what's going on the inside of me? So it was called Rolanda's Psalm. And it says, sometimes I wonder what's the point? What purpose do I serve when 1,000,000 miles of heartache is all I have observed? I have to ask myself, why is this happening to me? Perhaps it's because my spirituality is not where it should be. My faith in God is not as big as a mustard seed, and I'm the first person to agree. But it's incredibly hard to believe in anything when pain is all you see. It's a constant struggle to maintain my sanity when troubles don't cease at all. I feel like I can make it through this quicksand, but every time I stand, I fall. The heart of gold, the compassion of an angel is how my mother used to describe me. But now hurt, despair, disgust, and distrust are taking these qualities from me. Now more often I look at people and I think, which one now is after me? No longer is people, but is evil spirits with one goal, and that's to hurt me. So Father God, help me, please. Show me what I need to do to be free. Open my eyes and make me believe again that there's still humanity. As for now, I'm drowning in sorrow. Sorrow as large as the sea. So I ask you, Lord, to save my soul and grab a hold of me. As soon as I finish writing that.
Hold up. Did y'all hear that? Wow. That was a suicide note that turned into a psalm. Now it is like a praise to God. Thank you. Woo! How many minutes are we into this? How many minutes? We're only like 10 minutes in, and you're over. I am blown away.
Thank you.
You are a phenomenal woman.
Thank you.
I am so glad you. Child. Okay.
Now I gotta tell you, I didn't come from a church upbringing, right? Yeah. My father would take us to this little church on Central Avenue every now and again when he was drunk. So my dad had some money. And he would go to this church, and they'd let him come play the piano drunk, and then they'd pass around the offering basket, and he would give everything he had. That was the little inkling that I had of any type of church environment. So I wasn't raised in church. I didn't have a spiritual background, none of that. But when I finished the note, as soon as I finished the note, I heard a voice. First time I ever heard a voice. There's nobody in the house but me. My husband's in prison. My kids are at school and in daycare. But the voice said, what are you going to do with your kids? Yeah. He says, are you going to give your sister Ida, which was my baby sister? She has 6 kids of her own. He says, are you going to give Ida 11 kids? Her 6 and your 5? He says, are you going to give your sister Pat 10 kids, knowing she has a son with a degenerative brain disease that doesn't walk or talk? Are you going to give her your kids? Says, are you going to split them up? Then he says, are you going to let your dad raise them knowing why you ran away at 15 years old? Are you going to let your mom raise them knowing she didn't raise you and you don't have a relationship with your mom? Are you going to let them go to foster care knowing that your sister was raped in foster care? What are you going to do with your kids? And I remember dropping down to my knees and screaming. And what I said was, oh my God, I can't even die when I want to. It's not fair. It's not fair. But how amazing God is. The Bible says that the carnal man cannot receive the things of the Spirit.
There you go.
I was not a spiritual person. So he didn't talk to me spiritually. What he talked to me about was the only thing that could have stopped me from blowing my brains out that day, which was my kids. And it's like he laid it out before me. Here are your options. Pick one. What you want for your kids? Pick one. Not one of those options were viable. I did not want one of those for my babies. So I had no choice but to live. And then he showed me my husband's cousin who was a Christian. And Lionel would always ask me, hey, cousin, can I take you to church? Can I take you and the kids to church? And I would always say no. Not only would I just say no, but I'd laugh at him. I'd make fun of him. I'd call him one of those Jesus freaks.
Yes.
The whole, and I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't a spiritual person. I was a wretch undone.
Yeah, see?
But every time he asked me, I said, no. But that day.
Yes.
That's the image that God showed me in my head was Lionel. And he said, call Lionel. I picked up the phone. I called Lionel. I told him what just happened. He said, cousin, can you give me till Sunday? Let me take you and the kids to church, please. I said, okay, I'll give you till Sunday. Sunday, he came and picked me and my kids up. He took me to a church out in California. He introduced me to 6 of the most amazing women I had ever met in my life. I studied the Bible with those ladies for 6 months, and I gave my life to Christ. And that was 24 years ago.
Wow.
When I ran away from home, not only did I end up in Hollywood, but I ended up cracked out on crack cocaine. I was a 15-year-old drug addict because I had become involved with a family of celebrities that did cocaine as recreation. This is what they did every day. I'm trying to fit in. Everybody in the house using. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I didn't do no drugs. I didn't do none of that before I got there. But when I got there, and I just remember today, like it was 13 days they had been getting high for 13 straight days because one of them had came into a settlement of a lot of money. And they're getting high for 13 days. And I remember walking out that room and saying, can I have some? And they were the first person to give me a crack pipe. And I was 15 years old. So when I tell you when God saved me, not only did he save my soul, He changed my life.
Amen.
I like the taste of drugs. They're nothing. To this day, I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do nothing. He took it all away. And I promised him that anytime you give me a platform, I will tell people what you did for me. So if somebody say God don't hear sinners, that's a lie, because that's all I was. But he heard my cry. He heard my cry, and he changed my life. And because he changed my life, he touched the trajectory of my children.
Amazing.
Every single one of my children are all right. Praise God. Nobody's in penitentiary. Nobody's on drugs. None of that. Like, they watch what he did to me, and it spoke volumes to them.
Amazing.
So from that book, once I just poured it out and I honed in on what do I want people to know? That God hears your cry.
That's it.
That 5 minutes before death, that he's still willing and able. Wow. And that became the catalyst for the book. And from there, I ended up the very next year. So March 2023 was the book. And God blessed me with a friend named Linda J, who I had been in her stage play about a decade before.
Wow.
And one day I'm getting out the shower and I'm just thinking about the book. And I get out the shower and my son had mentioned Linda J to me about a week before. And I get out the shower and I see Linda J in my head and I call her. I'm like, Linda, hey, you still doing plays?
Yeah.
And she says, Ro, somebody just asked me that a couple of days ago. She said, and I told them I will when I get the right project.
Yes.
And I said, can I bring my book over and drop it off? And if you think that this is something worthy of doing, let me know. That day I went and dropped off the book. She called me 2 days later. She said, Ro, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for.
That is amazing.
Since then, we have done 3 productions at the Plaza Theater in Garland, Texas in March of 2024. And now we have a September 7th date coming up at the McKinney Performing Arts Theater here in McKinney for the He Heard My Cry production.
Woo, phenomenal things are happening. It is amazing. Oh my gosh. And with He Heard My Cry, how do you how do you develop your characters? How do you get them in the mode of he heard my cry? You know, like
I gotta say, I have the best cast ever, and the best director. Awesome. Linda J is anointed as a director.
That's awesome.
And I remember telling her, I said, Linda, I'm not going to be here in rehearsals with you because what I didn't want is for the cast to be so focused on pleasing me, the writer of the book, that they so focused on pleasing me that she loses the ability to give them what she needed to pour into them. Yeah. But every day she'd call me, she'd be like, Ro, oh my gosh, oh girl, wait till you see. I ain't going to, spoiler alert, I ain't going to say nothing. Oh my gosh. It was the most amazing collaboration, and everybody had the book. That's so amazing. They knew, like, they knew the character. Right. And the guy that played my dad, Michael Hamilton, I know Michael was like, you know, I just want to do your dad justice. Yeah. And I just talked to him and I told Michael, I'm like, listen, you got this. Yeah. You got this. Good. And so to be able to really share with them who the characters were, who my mom was, who my dad was, how they were, and things like that. And they just, oh my gosh, I have watched the play probably about 11 times and I still cry.
You still cry.
I still cry. And every single one of them.
Story.
It's my story, every piece of it.
It's amazing. Yes. That is just amazing to see your story lived out, you know, on a play, and, you know, even the things that are coming, you know, moving forward toward the end of this year and next year and beyond. But we just want to sometimes, you know, even in the process of writing and getting things in order and getting people to kind of rally around you and link and lock arms with you, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in the early stages? Did you face any challenges, funding, money-wise, or?
Well, I didn't. I mean, we really did, because it's like the things that we needed, like tech, right, our audio. We had people that already knew how how to play the keyboards, that was willing to come volunteer and play for the stage play.
Yes.
Linda J had people, because she had been doing a stage play since the 90s. So she had people that were already willing to be like, Linda J, what you need, already willing to be a part. And when I say, like, he put everything that we needed right there. And so once we paid for the venue, and after that, like, people wanted to hear. I think some of the biggest challenges were, if there was any, it was making the cast know that they got this.
Yes.
That they could be confident that I was well pleased, that they had did a wonderful adaptation to the book. And what's amazing is that, here we go, my mom and dad divorced in 1977, and at the stage play premiere, in there, my brother had been taken and put in foster care, right? So this is some of the stuff that we experienced. But at the stage play premiere, my mother, my father, both of my sisters, and my brother and me, all right there together in Garland, Texas, and to be able to tell them on stage, everybody, God is a restorer. Here's my family. Here's my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brother. And so I knew he was in it because he moved everything just so for it to be exactly what he wanted it to be.
Wow. This is just so amazing. We could go on for hours and hours and hours, but, of course, we have to, get ready to wrap things up. But what role has, like, networking played in your success? And I think you kind of touched on that already. Yeah. But how much is networking? How important is that to you?
Networking is extremely important because, one, is like you build these relationships. So it's not just a matter of, hi or whatever, but it's a matter of building and deepening relationships so that when, Linda J, she knows me, I know her, and she knows my character. I know she's a woman of integrity. Yeah. So the fact that we've had the opportunities, not just with Linda, but with the stage play cast, other people, the people that play the keyboard, all of these different people are people that we've established relationships with through networking. Yeah. And so we know we can trust one another and we can work together. You work with people you trust. Yeah, and so networking is extremely important because you don't know what skill set other people have.
Exactly. And so, it's being in a domestic violence situation, you've probably, sometimes people feel like they've used up all their resources. They've used up, their family. They've given money. They've tried to help them either get a hotel room or try to clothe them or whatever the situation, because every domestic violence situation is different. But, the isolation part is really something that, a person who's went through that can attest to, because you don't want the stigma of the embarrassment and the shame. Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've learned in there is I remember Craig's mom, Sylvia. I had come to her many times when Craig jumped on me. And I remember being so mad at her one day because I went to her and Craig had jumped on me. And she said, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're going to do something about it.
Wow.
And I thought, that is a very callous statement. I'm hurting over here, and that's all you get. But I get it. Because when I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, I did do something about it. And so what I've learned is that what happens is, even as girlfriends, if I tell my girlfriend, he did this, and her response is, girl, you need to leave him alone. I would have been gone if I was you. You better than me. Right. Those little comments, right? But you stay in the relationship. Then it happens again. And then you go tell him, girl, okay, well, I told you last time. I don't even know why you still. Okay, well, I don't even know what you're coming to me. What happens is that we stop going.
That's right.
We will stop reaching out because now we feel that you feel that we're stupid for staying. And so we don't reach out anymore. And what we have to do is realize that you may not be the person that I need to reach out to in this time.
Right.
there may be somebody else.
Right.
And there are other people out there that will listen to us.
That's
and
right.
that will help encourage and get us through that process.
That's it, because that can make you feel isolated because you don't have anybody else to really talk to about
Exactly.
what just happened just an hour ago,
Right.
30 minutes ago, last night. You know, you
Right.
wake up in the morning and things are traumatic in
Right.
your house. And so you call on the person you feel like you can trust. But after you've gone to that person so many times and you've tried to just pour out your heart and say, this is what's happening, they're like you say, looking at you stupid. And then you're like, well, I guess I'll just stay in here and I
Right.
won't talk to nobody. And you just, and every day you just started go lower and
Exactly.
lower and lower. And you never get a chance
Right.
to really just, connect and bond with those. So I'm so glad you brought up how networking is so important and getting with people who understand and who are just willing to
Right.
listen.
Right. Just
It's
save space for
safe-
somebody. Just
exactly.
save space for somebody.
Save
Because
space.
today may not be the day. They may not feel like they're strong enough to
That's
leave
right.
today. But that doesn't mean that a seed isn't planted.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they're not thinking their processes through, because I left Craig once. And I thought that I was gone.
Yes.
And the environment and situations I found myself in was worse than what I was with Craig. So I was like, okay, I can't live like this and take care of my kids. So I did the one thing I thought I wouldn't do, which was come back. But even though I came back, my mindset was different. I came back, but I was already thinking, how am I what's the plan?
Yeah.
Before there was no plan.
Yeah.
This time there's a plan. Rolanda, you need an education, because when I left home from my dad, I dropped out of school in the 8th grade. I didn't have a high school diploma or a GD. So now how am I going to get a good paying job to provide for my kids when I don't have an education? So now there's the plan. Rolanda, you going back to school.
Yes.
Rolanda, you finna go get a trade.
Yes.
So yes, Craig can be here. You're going to learn how to navigate through him and everything else. But at the end of the day, you are making strides so that you can get stronger and execute this plan and leave. And that may be the situation that other ladies are in. So we just need to save space and
There you go.
let them know, okay, I know you got this.
Yes.
God got you and you got this.
Their resilience and being relentless on your pursuit to get to better. Get to better.
Yep.
I don't know how you're going to get there, but God, you can get there.
You're gonna get there.
So, oh my gosh, this conversation is just amazing. And we are just having such a good time here, but I know we got to kind of wrap things up, because like I said, we could be here all day.
Right.
But I wanted to ask before we get out of here, what are you working on now, or what can we look forward to from you in the future?
Absolutely. So this is the Trilogy, and it is the book that launched in 2023, the stage play that launched in 2024, and now we are knee deep in the middle of the script for the movie He Heard My Cry. I'm working with Transformation Film Institute out of Frisco, Texas. I'm extremely excited to work with Mr. Richard Polite, but we are doing the movie. It'll be filmed the end of this year. So we're super excited about that. And then June 22nd, there's a double feature here in the Colony, Texas, Unintended Consequences, written by Dwayne Owens. And I'm in that movie as an actress. And then the first movie I've ever produced, which is a faith-based movie called Choose Wisely, is the second double feature portion of that. So that will be on June the 22nd. And if they can go to my Facebook page, and they'll see a link there where they can purchase the tickets for the for that red carpet event.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we're so excited.
Let our audience know, how can they follow you, look you up, because people need to get connected to you, because you got some good stuff going on here. You got some good stuff going on here, sis.
Yeah, thank you.
Please let us know how we can connect.
Absolutely. So my Facebook page is Rolanda Macharia, which is my personal page. But then we also have He Heard My Cry. So everything going on with the movie, the film, the book, the stage play, all of that is on He Heard My Cry. So they can reach me that way. Also, we are going to be doing open casting call auditions for the movie. Ooh. So if you have any creativity, if you like to, you are actor or actress, any of that, reach out. And then I can always be reached at my number, which is 972-369-5225.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. Of course, we didn't get enough, so that's why we need to go to the stage. Whenever we can see the production, we got to go to the movie. We got to, however we can stream this, whatever we need to do to see your story, because it is so powerful.
Thank you.
How you overcame all of that.
Yes,
You know,
ma'am.
I can't just pick and choose. You overcame all of that.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
that was very powerful. And now you're in a position to help hand up for others to
Yes,
come
ma'am.
and stay connected and know that they can too begin again after being in a dark season of their
Yes,
lives. Because it's just
absolutely.
a season, you know, it's just a season that they're going through, and they're already survivors.
That's her.
Those who are in it right now, in the thick of things,
Right.
they are surviving.
Yes,
so they
ma'am.
are survivors, but they are going to thrive once they make that decision and be courageous.
Yes.
So
Yay.
once again, sister, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining
it's a
us.
pleasure.
God
I
bless
really
you
appreciate it.
and
Thank
all
you.
your endeavors that are
Thank
coming
you.
up. All right,
ma'am.
guys, thank you so much for tuning
you.
in. Once again, a powerful story from our sister here. We thank you so much for tuning in. This is the kind of stuff you can look forward to. We will continue to have more powerhouse women and even some men that are going to come on here to share their stories or share testimonies and things like that to just keep you connected to what goes on in the community. All right? All right,
Yes.
goodbye for now.
Bye.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.